Good afternoon from the Ruby Room at Cornell Public Library, and I'm Miss Jennifer, and for today's Tinker Tuesday, we're going to make our own cloud dough. So cloud dough is a little similar to a traditional Play-Doh homemade recipe, except slightly different texture. It's more of a fluffy, light texture. So as always, we're going to go over what materials you need to make this at home. You're going to need conditioner, preferably white if you want to color it different colors. If you have a colored conditioner and you don't care that it's going to be that color, then that works too. You're going to need cornstarch. If you're going to be coloring it, you're going to need food coloring. You're going to need a bowl to mix things with. And you're going to need measurements. So the recipe is 2 parts cornstarch for 1 part conditioner. So however large of a batch you want to make, you're going to do so accordingly. Today, I'm going to make enough for a color, but I'm going to do 1 cup of cornstarch and a half a cup of conditioner. But of course, you can double that, triple that, make it as big as of a batch as you want, and then divide it up and add your colors afterwards. So how large of a batch is up to you. Your cloud dough, if you seal it in a Ziploc bag or a airtight container, should last about a week. All right, so let's go ahead and get started in making our cloud dough. So I'm going to take my bowl and I'm going to measure out my cup of cornstarch. Now it doesn't have to be perfect. You might need a little bit more than a cup or less. You want to slowly add in your wet ingredient, which in this case is your conditioner. And then it's all by texture. So if it's a little bit off, you can always add more cornstarch. Okay. So I've got my cup of cornstarch. And cornstarch has a very fine, powdery feel. All right, and then I'm going to get my half a cup of conditioner. And this is very similar back in December or January. I think we did a play snow. And it's very similar. So that used cornstarch and conditioner, but we didn't color it because it was supposed to look like snow, and the ratio was a little bit different. All right, and then the next fun part is just mixing it up. You want to get in there with your hands, and then you can add your food coloring. You can do mixtures of colors. So I've got blue and green. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of both to make kind of like a blue-green color. And if it's too wet, you just add more cornstarch. So what I'm going to do, you can see right now, I've got it all kind of crumbly and sticking to my hands. So I'm going to get in there and really go for it, and then we're going to check back. It'll be nice and mixed, and I will add food coloring. So again, if it's like this is sort of not well mixed yet, I've got some parts that are really wet, some parts that are really dry, so you don't want to add dry until you're certain you need it. All right, so stay tuned. I'm going to get this the right mixture, and then I'll show you what the end result is. You need to knead it for a bit. You want it to have a smooth Play-Doh texture by the end. So just mix it really well. Don't be afraid to break it up and play with it. And when you're sure it's too wet or too dry, then add cornstarch or conditioner as needed. All right. Okay, so this is what my cloud dough looks like. And it's almost like a non-Newtonian fluid, whereas I put pressure on it It's almost like that, which it's similar ingredients, non-interleaving fluids. We've done that before. But it's something that is both a solid and a liquid. So this sort of wants to be a solid, but then it kind of also wants to puddle like a liquid. It kind of reminds me of like kinetic sand a little bit. So once you have your ball, you can divide it up, or I'm just going to do one color. I'm going to put it in my bowl. All right. And then I'm going to do like a drop of blue and a drop of green and see what happens. And then knead that in. Keep in mind, because you're adding moisture, that could change slightly the nature and texture of your cloud dough. You might have to add a little more cornstarch. So I've got my drops folded in. You don't want to add too much color, because then your cloud dough will start staining your hands, and we don't want that. So I think it's hard to see on camera, but I have a very light blue-green color that's coming up. So pieces, like if you're very slow with it, but if you're hard with it, it breaks off really well. But you can get it to stretch if you're slow with it. So it behaves pretty differently than regular Play-Doh. Has a really fun texture, very light. So once you're happy with your color, I've got a very light mint color going on. You can play with it, mold it, do whatever you want with your cloud dough, and just make sure when you're done to put it in that airtight Ziploc bag and squeeze out all the air, and remove all the air out of your container as well if you've got an airtight container. So I hope you guys enjoyed our lovely cloud dough. Next week we're going to be making an articulated robot hand, so that'll be fun. So stay tuned next week for that. All right, so I will see you next week. Okay, bye.